in the shadow of Hereford's ancient cathedral, where the River Wye weaves its silvery threads through the heart of the city, a secret lay buried for centuries, waiting to be unearthed. It was the summer of 1960 when a group of labourers, digging foundations for a new row of shops along Broad Street, struck something unusual in the damp, loamy earth. Their shovels clinked against a small, tightly wrapped bundle, no larger than a child's toy. Brushing away the soil, they uncovered a crude cloth doll, its features stitched with eerie precision, a grim caricature of a human face, its eyes mere knots of black thread. Tucked into the folds of its tattered skirt was a scrap of parchment, brittle with age, bearing words that sent a chill through the warm summer air. The foreman, a pragmatic man named Thomas Hale, read the inscription aloud, his voice faltering. "I act this spell upon you from my whole heart, wishing you to never rest, nor eat, nor sleep the restin' part of your life. I hope your flesh will waste away, and I hope you will never spend another penny I ought to have." The labourers crossed themselves, muttering about curses and old magic. This was no child's plaything. It was an effigy, a vessel of malice crafted by a witch's hand. The doll was handed over to the Hereford City Library Museum, where it remains to this day, locked in a glass case, its silent menace a curiosity for visitors. But the story of its creation, and the woman who wove its dark spell, is one of betrayal, desperation, and a fury that transcended time. The year was 1698, and Hereford was a city of cobblestone streets and whispered secrets. In a cramped cottage on the edge of town, where the fields met the river, lived Marjorie Wren, a woman whose name was spoken in hushed tones. Marjorie was a healer, known for her poultices and tinctures. Her knowledge of herbs gleaned from the wild places where others feared to tread. But to some, her gifts marked her as something more, a cunning woman, a witch. The townsfolk sought her aid in secret, slipping through her door under cover of night to beg for cures or charms. Yet they shunned her in daylight, fearing the church's wrath. Marjorie's life was one of solitude, save for her friendship with Eliza Godwin, a seamstress who lived in a modest house on Broad Street. Eliza was a kind soul, her laughter as bright as the ribbons she wove into her garments. The two women, bound by their shared status as outsiders, spent evenings by Marjorie's hearth, sharing stories and dreams of a world kinder to women like them. Eliza, widowed young, struggled to keep her shop afloat, her nimble fingers working late into the night to mend gowns for Hereford's gentry. Marjorie, in turn, brought her baskets of herbs, offering remedies for Eliza's aching hands and weary heart. But friendship, like all fragile things, can be shattered by betrayal. Among Eliza's customers was a wealthy merchant's daughter, Beatrice Langley, a young woman with a sharp tongue and a heart as cold as coin. Beatrice, betrothed to a landowner from Shropshire, commissioned Eliza to craft a wedding gown of unparalleled beauty, promising a sum that would secure the seamstress's future for years. Eliza poured her soul into the dress, stitching intricate patterns of silver thread that shimmered like moonlight. When the gown was complete, Beatrice's eyes gleamed with delight, but her gratitude was fleeting. On the eve of her wedding, Beatrice refused to pay, claiming the gown was flawed, a lie as bold as it was cruel. "You're lucky I don't have you whipped for such shoddy work," she sneered, tossing a single shilling at Eliza's feet. The sum was a pittance, an insult to the weeks of labour. Eliza, humiliated and heartbroken, pleaded with Beatrice, but the merchant's daughter laughed, her voice carrying through the street. "You're nothing but a beggar with a needle," she said, and turned away. Eliza's despair was a wound that festered. She confided in Marjorie, her tears falling like rain as she recounted the betrayal. The money from the gown was to have paid her debts, saved her home, and secured her independence. Now she faced ruin. Marjorie listened, her face a mask of calm, but beneath it a storm was brewing. She had seen too many women like Eliza crushed by the greed of those who held power, merchants, lords, and their spoiled kin. This time she would not stand idly by. In the dead of night, Marjorie set to work. By the light of a single candle, she fashioned a doll from scraps of cloth, her fingers trembling with purpose. She stitched the effigy with care, shaping it to mirror Beatrice's haughty features, high cheekbones, a sharp nose, and a mouth curled in disdain. Into the doll's skirt, she tucked a lock of Beatrice's hair, pilfered from a comb left at Eliza's shop. Then, with a quill dipped in ink mixed with her own blood, Marjorie wrote the curse, each word a shard of her rage. I act this spell upon you from my whole heart, wishing you to never rest, nor eat, nor sleep the rest. I hope your flesh will waste away, and I hope you will never spend another penny I ought to have. The spell was no idle threat. Marjorie knew the old ways, the rituals whispered by her grandmother in the shadowed woods. She buried the doll at the edge of Broad Street, where Beatrice passed daily, chanting words that bound the curse to the earth itself. The river's current, the wind's sigh, and the soil's embrace would carry her will. As she covered the doll with dirt, Marjorie felt a pang of sorrow, not for Beatrice, but for the peace of her soul she had surrendered to vengeance. In the weeks that followed, whispers spread through Hereford. Beatrice Langley, radiant on her wedding day, began to waste away. Her appetite vanished, her sleep was plagued by nightmares, and her once lustrous hair fell in clumps. Doctors, summoned from London, could find no cause. Her husband, dismayed by her decline, withdrew, leaving Beatrice to wander her grand house alone, her wealth a mockery of her suffering. The townsfolk, unaware of Marjorie's hand, spoke of divine judgment, for Beatrice's cruelty was no secret. Eliza, too, noticed the change. At first, she pitied Beatrice, but as her own fortunes stabilized, new customers, drawn by tales of her skill, she began to suspect Marjorie's involvement. One evening, she confronted her friend, her voice trembling. "What did you do, Marjorie?" she asked, her eyes searching the healer's face. Marjorie said nothing, but the flicker in her gaze was answer enough. Eliza left the cottage, torn between gratitude and fear, never to return. Marjorie's fate was sealed soon after. A zealous priest, sniffing out heresy, accused her of witchcraft. The doll remained hidden, but Marjorie's reputation as a cunning woman was evidence enough. She was tried, her silence taken as guilt, and burned at the stake in Hereford's market square. As the flames rose, Marjorie's eyes fixed on the horizon, her lips moving in a final prayer, not for herself, but for the women who would come after, who might wield their power without fear. Centuries passed, and the doll lay forgotten, its curse spent with Beatrice's death. When it was unearthed in 1960, the labourers who found it felt an inexplicable dread, as if the earth itself recoiled at its discovery. The museum's curator, a scholar of folklore, recognized the doll for what it was, a relic of a woman's wrath, a testament to a time when justice was sought in shadows. The parchment, though faded, still carried Marjorie's words, a whisper of her heart's fury. Today, the doll rests in its glass case, a silent witness to Hereford's past. Visitors pause before it, drawn by its eerie aura, unaware of the woman who crafted it or the betrayal that birthed its curse. But in the quiet of the museum, when the lights dim and the city sleeps. Some say the air grows heavy, as if Marjorie's spirit lingers, watching over her creation. And in the wind that sighs along the Wye, you might hear her voice, soft but unyielding. I act this spell from my whole heart. Many thanks for treading this tale's dark path. If its chill gripped you, like, follow, subscribe, and comment below.